Dear finance professionals and students, welcome to podcast of FCA Deepak Rao, a practicing chartered accountant. Weekly digest for week 1 of August 2024. Billionaire tycoons Gautam Adani and Kumar Mangalam Birla are in a fierce competition within India's cement industry, focusing on acquiring assets and expanding production capacity. Adani's entry in 2022 disrupted the market, with both Adani Group and Birla's Ultratech Cement Limited executing several deals. Adani aims to double production capacity to 140 million tons by 2028, whereas Ultratech targets 200 million tons by 2027. The infrastructure boom is fueling massive cement demand in India. India needs to grow at a sustained pace of 7 to 10% for 20 to 30 years to escape the middle income trap and become a developed nation with a per capita income of $18,000 per annum and the size of a $30 trillion economy by 2047, when the country celebrates its centenary anniversary of independence. The National Institute for Transforming India, or Niti Aayog, said in an approach paper summarizing its vision for Vikas Bharat. SoftBank-backed Indian e-scooter maker Ola Electric's IPO is set to draw investor bids from Fidelity, Nomura, and Norway's Norges Bank. Ola Electric's roughly $740 million IPO will open this week and will be the first by an Indian electric vehicle maker. The company is the biggest player in the e-scooter market in a country where adoption of clean vehicles is still low but rising rapidly. The Reserve Bank of India is monitoring loans with a ticket size of up to Rs 50,000 on the books of banks and fintech lenders. A majority of consumers in this segment services 3 live loans, and it is suspected this would be an indication of evergreening with the possibility of diversion into capital markets. In the fiscal year 2023-24, Singapore emerged as the largest source of foreign direct investment into India, despite a 31.55% drop in inflows to $11.77 billion. The total FDI, which includes equity inflows, reinvested earnings and other capital, equity inflows into India fell to $44.42 billion in 2023-24, which is a 3.49% decrease from $46.03 billion in the previous year. Overall FDI decreased by 1% to $70.95 billion from $71.35 billion. Adani Energy Solutions is expected to launch a qualified institutional placement this week or next to raise up to $1 billion. This will be the first equity fundraising by an Adani Group company since Adani Enterprises called off its Rs 20,000 crore follow-on public offer in February last year after having raised the amount. The Reserve Bank of India warns of increasing fraudulent apps and mis-selling in the fintech sector due to emerging technologies, highlighting challenges in counterparty credit risk assessment and the need for enhanced cybersecurity, data privacy, and customer protection measures. The central bank emphasizes the importance of regulatory frameworks to navigate complexities and foster financial innovations while balancing financial stability, competition, and consumer protection in a rapidly digitalizing economy. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has declared the results for the June 2024 CA Foundation exams. Only 14.96% of candidates passed in the exams. SEBI has notified November 1st, 2024 as the effective date for the enforcement of norms relating to restrictions on communication about and trading by insiders in the units of mutual funds. It states that an insider cannot trade in the units of a mutual fund scheme when in possession of UPSI, which may have a material impact on the net asset value of a scheme or on the interest of the unit holders of the scheme. RBI has issued the Master Direction on Overseas Investment or OI. This Master Direction compiles instructions issued on overseas investment by persons resident in India. Further, these directions lay down the modalities for conducting the foreign exchange business by the authorized persons with their customers or constituents with a view to implementing the OI rules and the OI regulations. RBI has issued a Prompt Corrective Action or PCA framework for primary urban cooperative banks. The objective of the framework is to enable supervisory intervention at an appropriate time and require the urban cooperative banks to initiate and implement remedial measures in a timely manner to restore their financial health. The framework shall apply to all urban cooperative banks under Tier 2, Tier 3 and Tier 4 categories except urban cooperative banks under all-inclusive directions. The provisions of the framework will be effective from April 1, 2025. Sajjan Jindal-led JSW Cement has begun evaluating acquisition of the promoter stake in Orient Cement Limited or OCL from CK Birla, amid a consolidation wave in the sector that's seen the Aditya Birla and Adani groups race to pick up assets across the country. The development sees the entry of a third contender for OCL's 8.5 million tons per annum capacity after the Adani and Aditya Birla groups, both of which have been in active discussion with Delhi-based CK Birla at various points since last year when JP Morgan kicked off the sale process. India could soon see a slew of 5G smartphones priced well under Rs 10,000, with chipset maker Qualcomm rolling out an entry-tier 5G chipset in a bid to increase 5G adoption in emerging markets like India. Qualcomm's chipset, locked to 5G standalone architecture, will be hitting the markets by the end of 2024, debuting on Xiaomi's device. Air India Group is consolidating its cargo operations and may eventually carve out a separate entity with dedicated freighters. The restructuring exercise will allow the Tata-owned carrier to sharpen focus on the expanding air cargo market backed by a growing economy and rising trade activity. By the end of this year, Vistara is expected to be absorbed by Air India, while Air Asia will merge with Air India Express. Global brands like Marks & Spencer, Next, Decathlon, Primark, Gap, Walmart, PepsiCo and Tesco are planning to ramp up sourcing from India. The customs duty changes in the union budget are likely to give a major fillip to Tirupur, a textile production hub in Tamil Nadu. Tirupur is already facing a wave of orders with some global brands diverting purchases from Bangladesh, with production getting impacted there due to social unrest. Avenue Supermart or D-Mart, India's largest listed retailer by sales and market capitalization, announced that it will focus on discounting and lower pricing to drive growth. The owner of D-Mart supermarkets emphasized that it will prioritize opening more stores instead of launching an ultra-fast delivery model despite the rising popularity of quick commerce rivals. This approach is aimed at covering catchments and clusters where quick commerce companies are currently experiencing high demand. Income tax notices are expected in the next month, with concerns about taxpayers slipping through the tax net due to the new reassessment law. Tax officials face challenges in compiling data on tax and income mismatches for financial years 2013 to 2018 before the September 1st deadline. There are worries about the mammoth task of issuing notices within a month and the potential interpretation issues that may arise. Under the amended regulation announced in the budget, the taxman can go back not more than 5 years to reassess a taxpayer's records if the escaped income is at least rupees 50 lakh. Till now, they could reassess up to 10-year-old cases. The time limit is 3 years for an amount less than rupees 50 lakh. India has exempted all state-run firms from meeting public shareholding norms for 2 years until August 2026. All listed Indian companies, including public sector firms, are required to maintain a minimum public shareholding of 25% as per the market regulator's rules. Market regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India will have to bring the change into effect. IT services major Infosys is under the GST authority scanner for an alleged evasion of taxes worth rupees 32,000 crore as per internal documents. The Directorate General of GST Intelligence states that as a company creates overseas branches to service clients as part of its agreement with the clients, those branches and the company are each treated as distinct persons under the IGST Act. SEBI has launched its virtual assistant Seva, an artificial intelligence-based conversation platform for investors. The beta version of the chatbot includes features like citations for generated responses, speech-to-text and text-to-speech functionality for accessibility, etc. The chatbot is presently enabled to answer questions regarding general information on the securities market, grievance redressal process, etc. The beta version is available on SEBI's investor website and Saarthi mobile app. India Inc. is requesting the government for a phased transition to the long-term capital gains tax regime announced in the budget for financial year 25, which proposes to remove indexation benefits for property, gold and other unlisted assets. The options being proposed are a higher tax rate with indexation or a lower rate of 12.5% without indexation, as well as some form of grandfathering for ancestral properties. The suggestions are being examined at the Finance Ministry and will be discussed with the Prime Minister's office. The Reserve Bank of India has agreed to Tata Sons restructuring plan, which exempts the holding company from mandatory stock exchange listing. Tata Sons has restructured to be a zero debt entity, complying with RBI's regulations and avoiding classification as an upper layer non-banking finance company, potentially removing the need for listing by 2025. Facing financial distress, JP Group is seeking rupees 10,000 crore in high-cost financing from global credit funds such as Vande Partners, Eris, Cerberus, and Hill House to rescue its flagship company, Jai Prakash Associates Limited, from insolvency. Jai Prakash Associates Limited was admitted for insolvency on June 3rd by the NCLT following a petition by ICICI Bank. Key issues include disputes with land authorities and principal repayments due in 2037. The company plans to refinance loans and sell assets including real estate, cement plants, and a Formula One racetrack. RBI has issued master direction on the treatment of willful defaulters and large defaulters. The primary objective of these directions is to provide a non-discriminatory and transparent procedure with respect to principles of natural justice for classifying a borrower as a willful defaulter by the lenders. These directions cover the mechanism for identifying and classifying willful defaulters, reviewing accounts for identification of willful default, and penal and other measures against willful defaulters. SEBI has released a consultation paper on a proposal to improve the ease of doing business with respect to additional disclosure framework for large foreign portfolio investors. Under the proposal, SEBI suggested a suitable risk-based threshold for identifying and categorizing FPIs as land bordering countries or non-land bordering countries entities. Also, this risk-based approach aligns with the ease of doing business perspective for FPIs to attract foreign capital towards fueling domestic capital formation. Ford is exploring a re-entry into the Indian market, focusing on electrics and sustainability. After exiting India in 2021, Ford is evaluating a feasibility report on new investments and production for local sales and exports. The company, which had invested over $2 billion in India, sees the market as vital for future growth amid stagnation in Western markets. Reliance Retail plans to extend Superdry into athleisure segment, which will place it in direct competition with leading sportswear brands like Nike, Adidas and Asics. Last year, the British fashion brand had inked a joint venture agreement with Reliance Brands for the sale of Superdry's intellectual property assets in India, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh for £40 million. Consumer durable makers in India such as LG, Samsung, Haier, Godrej, Voltas Beko and Panasonic are engaged in a competitive warranty battle to attract customers. These brands are extending warranties on key components like compressors and motors to win over mainly consumers above the age of 35, which is anticipated to increase sales. Over the years, RBI has prioritized the security of digital payments, particularly the requirement of an additional factor of authentication for making payments. No specific factor was mandated for authentication. The RBI has now released a draft framework on alternative authentication mechanisms for digital payment transactions to enable the ecosystem to adopt alternative authentication mechanisms in addition to SMS-based OTP. This will widen the choice of authentication factors. Non-banking financial companies may witness a period of subdued growth as banks are slowing down funding following higher risk weights amid tight liquidity conditions. According to the latest Reserve Bank of India data, the year-on-year growth in bank credit to NBFCs dropped to 8.5% in June compared to 16% in May. Additionally, data shows that incremental lending by banks to NBFCs has fallen to just Rs 7,420 crore in the April to June quarter of financial year 25. It is essentially due to banks running down their portfolios concerning state-owned finance companies.
This podcast is sponsored by Sound of CA. We share because we care. Vande Mataram, Jai Hind.